If you're into classic pro wrestling and you can take a joke, check out my pro wrestling podcast, the K-Fabulous Lucha Brothers Wrestling Show. Subscribe on iTunes, and I will leave the link down below. Welcome to another edition of Geekdom Movie Talk, where I sit down with a guest to have a brief conversation about the world of movies, especially geeky movies that all of you and myself love to go watch. And on this edition of Geekdom Movie Talk, I will be joined by LaughingStock Media's one and only film nerd and film enthusiast. Please welcome Mike Warren. Hello, Mike.
Hey guys, it's Mike here from LaughingStock Media. How's it going?
Yes, indeed. And we've worked together a lot, but on this video, we're going to be talking about Doctor Strange, which is the upcoming Marvel, the second, I guess you could say, Marvel Cinematic Universe film. And you grew up on the Marvel comics. You grew up on movies. So I figured you'd be a good guy to talk about this with.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've always liked Doctor Strange. I always thought he was really interesting and, really interesting concept. He actually uses real life magic, which is a part of why, like, when I originally saw when they used Thor, like in Thor, they tried to make everything seem like technology, which, I mean, I always thought was like kind of a ploy to try and, be like, oh, it's okay, people, it's okay. It's just science. I mean? Like, I always thought that was going to screw up Doctor Strange when they finally introduced him. But it's actually really cool to see that they're really going to do it now. And it'll be cool to see how they do it.
Did they even have plans to do a Doctor Strange film when Thor was being written?
Oh, yeah. Ever since the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they have wanted to do Doctor Strange. Like, Feige has always wanted to do a Doctor Strange movie. And in fact, they did a Doctor Strange animated movie.
Yes.
If I remember.
They had an animated TV show.
That came out right after, like, Iron Man. Yeah, like, they've done, like, well, they actually did, I forget what it was called, but, like, in the 70s or something, they did a Doctor Strange series, but they didn't have the rights for Doctor Strange, and so they called him Dr. Mordro, like, called him something, and he was like basically a Doctor Strange knockoff, but it was basically an unofficial Doctor Strange TV series. So, like, this guy has had a presence throughout the years, and he's a really cool character.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about that because I never thought that we were actually ever going to see an actual Doctor Strange movie, especially not one that's going to tie into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So what I wanted to ask you about first and foremost about Doctor Strange is how do you feel about Benedict Cumberbatch, or as I call him, Batch of Cucumber? How do you feel about him portraying
Cabbage
Doctor
Patch
Strange?
Kid?
He looks like one. How do you feel about that? Because, I mean, honestly, the best person would be Vincent Price, but he's no longer with us. So unless they're going to hologram it up, I feel like Benedict is a decent choice. But what do you think?
Like they did with, what was it, Laurence Olivier or Ed O'Toole. I forget what it was, what the actor's name was in basically
what the hell are you talking about?
Sky Captain: The World of Tomorrow. You ever see that movie with Angelina Jolie and Guy Ritchie, where the director, he made like a really big fan like film on like the internet, and so they let him make a movie, and so he actually like hologrammed in like a dead actor from decades ago into the movie. And like, it was like a big scandal, but no, they obviously wouldn't do that for Vincent Price.
No, well, you already said you should have just said Tupac. But anyways, Doctor Strange, all right, Benedict Cumberbatch.
I don't have a problem with him playing Doctor Strange, to be honest, because he's actually a really good actor. Like, he was really good in Sherlock. I thought he was pretty good in the second Star Trek movie, although I wasn't, huge on him in it. He could do a really cool voice when it comes to Smaug, or Smaug. So basically, like, if he does any of those enhanced states that Doctor Strange could turn into, like with his magic, Sorcerer Supreme powers, it could be cool. I did think, though, that Viggo Mortensen would have been a better choice.
Viggo Mortensen wouldn't have been a bad choice.
Yeah, he would have been really good in that role. Now, a lot of people say Johnny Depp, who I also think would have arguably been better. As long as he didn't play it like Jack Sparrow and he played like a completely unique character. Johnny Depp would have been good too. Like, so
I agree with Johnny Depp.
Cumberbatch isn't my number one. Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch is definitely not my number one pick for that role. But I would definitely say that he isn't a bad pick either. Like, Marvel is good with their casting.
I agree. Now, I have some concerns because I'm looking forward to the film. From what we understand, it's going to be an origin story. Stephen Strange learns from the Ancient One after a car accident how to tap into his power. The only thing I have concerns about, because I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be a fine movie. I think it could be good if they do it right. But my concern is with the Doctor Strange lore, because I feel like they could be using Doctor Strange to possibly introduce some of the more cosmic elements of Marvel. Now, we've already seen a little bit of it when you watch Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy threw in a lot of it. But now with Doctor Strange, we're going into the whole kind of controversial astral projection,
the abstracts, and the celestials, and like stuff like the living tribunal and eternity, and the one above all, Doctor Strange literally has spoken to God in Marvel before, more than once.
So, I don't think we're going to see that in this movie, though.
Tribunal. No, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they do like a little like, maybe he's about to die and he sees like, a light and it talks to him or something. Like when he's fighting, his rival. But like, I don't know, like the thing with Doctor Strange is that I think that's going to be really cool and a big way to expand upon it. And like certain characters like Mephisto, who is literally like Satan the devil in Marvel, was playing a very crucial role in the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. So it'd be good to introduce him now, especially since, we're not too far away in terms of developing stuff for the Infinity Gauntlet next Avengers movie. But that is going to be very hard for them to do. And I could see why they waited so long to do it at this point, because it makes logical sense rather than, doing it immediately. I mean, like, we wouldn't really want this to be another, like, Keanu Reeves Constantine Hellblazer movie. And I like that movie personally. I enjoyed it. But that movie is certainly, it was very polarizing. It wasn't necessarily true to the source material. So we don't want, like, another, like, early 2000s Daredevil-esque movie like that with Doctor Strange to kick off Marvel and really bastardize the character. So it's nice after they've expanded upon all this lore that we're truly getting a real Doctor Strange, like actually that portrayal.
Well, and that's kind of my next question here is all about whether or not they should go to source material, because Kevin Feige's been quoted as saying that the Doctor Strange movie is only going to scrape the surface of what this guy can do. He's going to be able to create light shields and create portals and things like that, and he's going to have the cloak of levitation, the Eye of Agamotto. So he will have cosmic, bizarre abilities, stranger abilities than anybody else we've seen in Marvel thus far. I mean, this guy's even more stranger, pun intended, than the Scarlet Witch. I mean, he's got some powers that are freaky. My question to you is, this is my biggest concern, is this movie, could it be a mainstream movie, and will the general audience, the general populace, the casuals, the marks, will they be able to handle a film that's this out there? Because I feel like this movie could end up being a huge drug trip.
I think it's going to be fun. I think it'll work. And the reason why is because there's always been this, idea that like going, like, especially in Marvel, there's always been this idea that, going with magic and, going with like these more heady things out there in comics would not work. But we've seen time and time again with Lord of the Rings, with Harry Potter, with all these like these big time like science fiction movies and fantasy movies that have come out, that people do like that stuff, that people are into it. Not only have we already had the comics and cartoon fan base, but we have people that go and see the movies on top of that. So I think it very well could. Now, in terms of the first movie, do I think they're going to throw us right in there? No. I think that they're going to play it a little bit safe. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to not get as wacky as, and out there as possible immediately, but they will touch on it. And I think that they'll see if people are going for it, and then after that, after the first movie, they'll go more hard, they'll really get into it. Like, so I'm sure
if it does well, you're expecting a sequel.
Oh yeah, like, well, obviously they have sequels set up for all this stuff at all times. Like, they could just be doing it to say, here you go, Feige, you got your wish. But I think that they're doing it to actually make him a big deal. And you don't hire Benedict Cumberbatch unless you're actually going to make him a big deal in these series.
That's a fact. Now, how do you feel about Carl Mordo being the lead heel for this movie? I think it's perfect. Some people were saying that they should be, some of the more cosmic entities, but I think they should keep it simple for Doctor Strange's first adventure, and then down the road give him a real challenge. Like, Mephisto should be safe for a bigger movie, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like Mephisto, like I feel like they will touch on him and introduce him in this though. Um, Now I like Chiwetel Ejiofor, who's going to be playing him. He was in The Martian. He was in 12 Years a Slave. He's a really good actor.
Yes.
But that being said, like I mean, it would be cool to see Dormammu. But I think that Dormammu is probably going to be referenced in this movie. Like I feel like they might show him. Like I feel like what they're going to do. This might be very similar to the original Doctor Strange cartoon movie that I referenced earlier. In that they basically had Baron Mordo. He went and he tried to become the Sorcerer Supreme himself because he was jealous that they picked Stephen Strange. So basically, he went and he worked with Dormammu and he tried to free him. And Dormammu is, of course, this ridiculously powerful, galaxy-destroying, in terms of power, demon. And he went and he tried to, access him. And of course, the final fight of the movie was them against Dormammu, like, Doctor Strange. So I wouldn't be surprised if this movie turns out just like that. And I feel like, with Doctor Strange, there's always like that thing behind the scenes. So I feel like they're going to have that.
So
I feel like
you don't think it's going to be too trippy for the casuals, in your opinion?
I mean, like they'll probably do it just for the ending, and then Dormammu will like live on, in his like little cage or whatever they put him back into in the alternate dimensions. But no, I think they're actually gonna try. Like you don't like do this unless you're gonna go hard, but I don't think they're gonna go as hard as possible. They will hold back.
Now, a couple predictions here. I'm going to make a couple predictions. I want yours, okay? I think number one, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I think that we're going to get a new Infinity Gem in this movie. I think this is the perfect opportunity for them to do it. They're not going to squeeze it into Civil War, I don't think. I think this is the perfect chance for them to introduce a new gem. And then number two, I think this is an even more perfect chance for them to introduce the concept of Lady Death, or maybe even the character herself. Because for those of you who have been following the Marvel Comics for years and years and years, and they're going to do this in the movie, Thanos is obsessed with Lady Death, the physical manifestation of death. And I feel like because she's such a cosmic entity, she literally is one of the beings like eternity, infinity, the in-betweener that holds the universe together.
Yeah, they're abstract forces. They're the abstracts, they call them.
They have to exist. So I think it's perfect to introduce her, even if it's a teaser in this film. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can't it would be kind of disappointing, to be honest, if Thanos, like they say that he's in love with the concept of death. You know what I mean? Like they got to go hard. And they got to
she's death, dude.
Like he's in love with a woman who is death. Yes. You know what I mean? Like she is literally death, and she is a she. You got to show that, and that's one of the cool things that Jim Starlin did when he actually made Thanos, and he made this lore surrounding him. When he added all this cool stuff, Thanos Quest and the Infinity Gauntlet are up there as two of my favorite comics ever. So I want to see this done right. And they're going to have to introduce her because the first Infinity Gauntlet movie, the Infinity Wars, is going to be coming in 2 years. They got to do it now.
Yeah, give us little teases here and there, and then give us the big shit later. All right. Well, thank you, Mike, for being here. And do you have any predictions before we get out of here about Doctor Strange?
I predict it'll be successful because it's a Marvel movie and it's got Benedict Cumberbatch in it. It's probably gonna do well.
Yeah, I hope that they don't overdo it with the CGI. Like I think we're gonna see a lot of CGI, but I hope they use more like light effects, optical effects versus actual CGI. But we'll see. As long as practical too, as long as it doesn't look cheesy. But but everybody check out LaughingStock Media. He does Dragon Ball. He does movies. He does wrestling once in a while. Check out the channel. I'll leave a link down below, and we'll catch you next time on the next Geekdom Movie Talk. But before then, let me know your thoughts down below on Doctor Strange. Are you anticipating it? Do you think that's going to be dumbed down for the casual audience? Will it be dumbed down? Will Marvel dumb it down? And do you think there's potential for a series? Let me know down below. I'll catch you down the road.